Hello, it's time.
It's
We
time.
made it. This is like, it just gets better and better and better. Erik Dalton. No one needs it. You don't really need an introduction. Let's be frank. I mean, you don't need one, Erik. You don't need one. But
You don't either, Diane.
it's
Everybody's read your books.
so,
I just read your last book.
you did?
Yeah, Massage Therapist Guidebook. Actually, someone sent it to me. Really good, girl. Way to go.
Well,
How's
thank you.
it going up there in Pennsylvania? When do you think you'll open up again?
I think Pennsylvania, it's a little bit of a slow start here. I just sent my clients out an email saying that we might get started June 24th. So my staff and myself, it's the longest I've gone in my life without touching and giving a massage. It's so
24 years, huh?
Yes, it's been a really long time. So I'm freaking out a little. So I can't wait to get my hands on some people and see some smiling faces around here at Freedom Massage again. And just so you know, Erik, we won Best in Philly again this year.
Yeah, way to go. You guys got more awards, man. I'm looking at your website. You guys get awards all the time. Do you guys pay those people off or what?
We haven't.
I haven't had to pay. I do. I pay people off. Now my wife and dogs are ready for me to go back to work. They're tired of me digging on them.
I bet.
They're like constantly, quit rubbing on me.
So listen, I just wanted to, for those who don't know, I've gathered some information, and I think one of my favorite things that I've heard you say is you can't teach experience. I don't know if that came from you or you found or if that was passed on. I love that.
Yep, that is mine. Yep, that's mine.
You can't teach it.
Yep. To a certain extent, you can teach experience, but some people just have it. You have some therapists that have had hardly any training at all, but they have what I call innate kinesthetic palpatory awareness. In other words, they just got it. They're the kinesthetic type. I was never that type. I was more visual and all that stuff. I had to learn that. It took a long time for me to get my hands from going from explicit memory into implicit, where the hands know better than the brain. They finally just grasp it. But it took me a long time to learn that. And Rolfing, it was a hard process for me to feel a lot of those layers and all that stuff. But that's yep. I think the whole thing is in the trenches. I've had a full-time practice for 40 years, and while we're off on this break right now, we have to keep our skill set up. Whatever we can do, whether it's courses online or whether it's, working on your family or whatever, we got to keep our skill set up. So when we get back, we're ready to go and let people reap the rewards of us being gone. My clients are going crazy. I have to FaceTime them all the time and go. It's a really good thing to connect with them and go through their problems and calms them down. Just the nervous system, just knowing somebody's out there for you, right?
Yes. 100%. We can't physically touch, but we can still stay in touch.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was really cool and got me really fired up, because now we see Erik Dalton, the man, the legend, the guy who's been around forever and who's making waves online and all across the country, having hundreds of people at your workshops. To learn in 1994, you did your first workshop and you had 11 people. I think that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
That you can't teach experience. You didn't just land on planet Earth and have hundreds of people waiting. You've been at this for a really long time.
Yeah, I consider it, we call our myoskeletal techniques brain-based body work, but really it probably should be blue-collar body work, because I consider myself a blue-collar therapist. That's when I'm happiest in the clinic, working on people, learning from people. It's trial and error, and that's how critical thinking develops. It's something you can philosophize. A lot of people philosophize critical thinking, and that's one thing. But to be in there over and over and over, working on people, listening to the problems, listen how their inflections, and see how you talk back to them affects the therapeutic outcome. That's all just hands-on experience. And that's why I like techniques. Techniques, as Robert Calvert, the founder of Massage Magazine, said, is an invitation to touch. And Ida Rolf went through that whole series, and she did the 10 series where people would not just go work on the same parts of the body, go to the low back and neck and call it a session, down to the feet, up through the rib cage, the whole thing was set up so with techniques so that you can be familiar with every part of the body and and actual communication is a technique. It's all a technique. I was a drummer for many years, and unfortunately, I did not start out learning all my rudiments, and I really had to pay for it when I got to California and started competing against the studio musicians out there because they had technique. You got to have technique. So a lot of people bash technique. It's a big mistake. Technique's really important.
Well, I'm going to bounce around a little out of order of what I had things down because drumming, now it makes sense. Drumming, for those who don't know, you drum, and you have one of the things I think is a lost art in massage therapy that we talked about a lot more, and you talk about, which I really, really like, is rhythm. Every time I see you, you're
beating on something.
There's rhythm, and it makes a huge difference. Do you want to talk about that a little?
Well, my mom used to say, Eric ain't happy if his hands aren't busy. I don't think she said ain't, but yeah, it's it's all about, all good body workers when, if you're doing a relaxation massage, for instance, which I really appreciate, relaxation massages where, everybody's quiet and all that stuff. I don't do that, but I did, is, you can tell when the people are in rhythm. They're in rhythm with you. They're either syncing in with your respiratory system or they're syncing in with your cranial sacral system. I don't know. But whatever it is, they're in a rhythm and you feel it in your body. They're leaning in, they're doing, they're using the rhythm.
I feel like the rhythm, for me, it creates trust because it's almost like they know where you're going to be next. They can almost guess.
Right.
When you work, I'm like, look at that rhythm.
That's right. Hey, you have pretty good neck work there, girl. Let's see that. Wow, I'm impressed. Put me down.
So rhythm's a big thing, and you talk a lot about body mechanics. And in order to be around for as long as you have, all your work, every time I see you, you're at perfect posture and perfect body mechanics.
I don't know about that, but I try. Yeah. That's something that you break down if you don't learn how to use your body. And there are certain little tips that I teach in workshops that really help. Usually start out with just a segment at our workshops that are just teaching. We're not paying attention to what we're not trying to treat thoracic outlet syndrome, rotator cuff, or TMJ. All we're doing is just showing you different ways to use your body in different holds, different positions and holds and grasp to save your body too. So yeah, that's a big thing for me.
And I really like too how you talk about, I've heard you say posture, poor posture. Posture is a symptom.
That's right.
You just have a way of like putting things after all these years, like motion is lotion, but let's
that's another one. I stole that one, but
I love it.
Yeah.
But posture is a symptom. Can you just break that down a little for us? I love that.
Yeah, when I started with Vladimir Yonda, it was the upper cross syndrome, lower cross syndrome, and we had certain muscle crossing patterns, and we assumed, at least his research through electromyographic studies, Prague and Czechoslovakia found that certain muscles, when stressed, would become tight and facilitated, like the pecs pulling things over and the lower shoulder stabilizers getting weak, allowing that kind of thing. Well, it turns out a lot of times that's not true. We can stand people up that have poor posture, palpate the pecs, and they're weak. So, it started becoming a puzzle to a lot of people. And it turns out that's really not it. It's a part of the midbrain, the pontomedullary reticular formations, which is it's kind of the motor control center of the everything kind of goes through the midbrain brainstem. And so that is where it memorizes these postural patterns that we have from prolonged sitting and all that stuff. And so basically it learns that. It's like the SAID principle, specific adaptations to imposed demands, which is an old term used in physical therapy for a long time. And that's just like, your brain, if we're sitting here like this and we're slumped, your brain says, okay, I'm going to support you the best way I can in that position. You're in that position. I'm going to do my very best to support you in that position. Unfortunately, midbrain, pons and medulla learn that. They learn that position. And so really it's a symptom that the brain and the body aren't communicating well. So you got to kind of forget the upper and lower cross syndrome, even though they do exist. I evaluate for them in my assessments, but you have to think deeper. You have to think down, what is the brain doing with this information? How's it processing it? How's it going? How's the motor? Is there a problem with the processing? Motor system a problem? Sensory system a problem? The balance, the cerebellum balance system a problem? You got to kind of run it through and just at least understand those things so that you don't try to blame everything on tissue issues.
And another thing, while I have you,
yeah,
I love when you talk about hormones. I mean, it's just really, I mean, again, like there's body reading is one of the arts I like. You kind of look at someone's face, the shape of the face, and it might tell you something. It might not, it could, but I'm fascinated by that. And now you're bringing it down to hormones. Could you just touch on that? Just a little bit.
Well, there's an old acronym been around for a long time called DOSE, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, beta endorphins. And they all have a different impact on in the massage therapy, body work, any kind of body work, chiropractic, anything, you're affecting those hormones. Obviously, we know about oxytocin, the love hormone, that, those people knowing they've been listened to, and the endorphins, really, that's the kind of the runner's high, but that the brain can secrete beta endorphins to help not relieve pain, but to keep the pain from being worse. And so dopamine, we know what dopamine does. And so when we understand the hormonal system and able to separate the neurotransmitters, the hormones are basically when they get in the blood. Neurotransmitter and hormone are essentially the same thing. A neurotransmitter is just between a little synapse, and it kind of tells the next cell what to do. But hormones is actually when the neurotransmitter is transmitted through the blood. So most of those that we just talked about, dose, are hormones that are transmitted through the blood. Anyway, we use it in body work all the time, and it's a good idea to know why and to be able to explain to people why they're feeling better. Let me just talk about this one thing. So I'm writing an article on massage and body work right now. It's real interesting. I don't have all of my notes with me on it, but basically, Hans Selye, who was kind of like the father of stress. And so he had, for years and years, everybody thought that the stress was just a purely mechanical thing. Hormones, you get a certain, you shock a rat, light shock. I'm only talking about static electricity or on a hot plate. Shock them, and then you check their cortisol levels and everything, and then it goes up and it goes up. So he goes, okay, it's a hormone. It secreted certain hormones, and that's why it's a closed, tight system, mechanical system. Every time you put the person in a certain situation, the hormones are secreted that cause a stress response. And then a guy from Yale came along somewhere in the late 50s, and he found that if you did the same experiments, like a hot plate or a little bit of electric shock, and then they measure the cortisol levels, he put one of their cage mice friends, after they had been shocked, in the cage with them, and they ran over and started cuddling, and then they checked the hormone levels, and then all of a sudden the whole thing changed. The psychologist got into it because all of a sudden the cortisol levels went completely down. All the epinephrine, all of the flight hormones went down. So now we're going, oh my God, the psychologists aren't involved. It was so nice and tidy when it was just a mechanical system. But now we've got to include the psychologist, and that's what we are doing now. And more in pain all the time now.
So you could, if I understand, I could give a little.
Let me finish this. I didn't finish this. I forgot to finish. Okay, so. Well, they're in the crate, and so they say, okay, well, let's take that other cage mice out, shock them, and then just give them a piece of wood to chew on. So they go over and shock the mice. The mouse that goes over and gets to nibble on the thing also displaces it. And the thing about stress that's so interesting is the one displaced anxiety or displaced aggression. The person who's doing the displacing, they don't get the ulcers. It's the people they're displacing it on. You know what I mean? They're fine. They've displaced. So that's all part of that, the way, it calms the hormonal system down when you get to, and that's what massage is. That's exactly what we do. That's one of the best things. It's called, matter of fact, I think the title article is going to be something like the massage and Massage is like chewing on a stick. You go over in the corner, chew on a stick, and you come to your therapist, and they do whatever they do, and all of a sudden your stress levels go down because you've been able to displace them. And so I think that's one of the things we do. We do a lot of wonderful things that still haven't been researched yet, but yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And one of the things too that I heard you say was the healer is within the client. I think that's kind of a very humble and beautiful thing to say.
That what? What?
The healer is within the client.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Would you want to give us a little bit on that?
I don't know. That's such a broad topic. I don't know if I can want to get into the humor of it. But I tell you what, the most important thing is humor. I mean, in every aspect, this thing that we're going through right now, I know everybody's freaked out. We're all freaked out. This isolation is driving everybody a little bit batty, but there are a lot of good things that are going to come from this. And so we have to keep our humors. That's why on our humorous. So that's why I post on Facebook. You guys got to join my Erik Dalton Skeletal Facebook group and catch all this. I post a lot of things that are upbeat because there's going to be good out of this. Every time we've had a crisis like this, something really, really good comes out of it. And I tell you, there are a couple of things that are going to happen. First of all, we're going to know a crap of a lot more about viruses. We've been trying to understand these little fragments of DNA forever and how they mutate. Well, we're going to figure that out a lot more, and that's going to apply to all future viruses, germ warfare, et cetera. And then the immune system. A lot of people are studying the immune system now that wasn't funded before. We figured, God, maybe if we just go about it through the immune system. And then the bigger thing, the greater thing that's finally getting researched, which is what I'm into. There are a couple of people out in San Diego. I watched their YouTube videos. They have a big research clinic out there, and it's anti-aging. It's stopping the aging process, delaying it, and sometimes putting it back a few years. And that's where the anti-aging guys are saying now they're getting all this research money. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a big deal. We're going to have a yin-yang out of this thing.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that I don't know about you, but I've been working really hard for 20 some years, so for me, it's not that I stopped working, it just shifted it. And if it seems like you keep going with the shifts too, because even early on when your first class with 11 people, that's 11 people, even Erik Dalton had 11 people in his class. You said you use that opportunity too, to do some catering and your workshops, they're not just a class, it's an event. You've made them an event with the camera.
Always do. Every one of our workshops is an event. That's why I hardly teach outside my own workshops. We now have this year like 10 or 11 new teachers teaching for us this year. And we really require that they think of it as an event. We want to give the people more than they expect when they come, no expense spared, and the same way with that first workshop of 11 people in my 3,000 square foot pink garage, 2,000 square foot pink garage. We had it catered. We did all this stuff because, we wanted everybody to just, first of all, I was so nervous. I thought maybe that would distract. Well, at least we're going to get a good meal. It's got to know what he's talking about, but at least we're going to have fun sitting at the lake and having a meal with it. But yeah, everything should be an event. I mean, I was in the music business forever, and that's what I did. I was a manager of the band forever and all that stuff. So I set all that up, and I just love that. I just love seeing people come in and go, oh, wow, the best stage set up and the lighting and all that. It's all part of the, look at TED Talks, the new TED Talks versus the old one. They know what they're doing now. Back in the old days, they had some pretty crappy film TED Talks and stuff, and they weren't as impressive. It's give them more.
And let's call it too what it is. You're reinvesting in your students, which I want to say thank you for. You're really putting the money from your business back into the students and making sure they have a hell of a time when they come see you.
Right.
And I also wanted to say one more thing. You said the word nervous. Do you still get nervous?
Yes, absolutely. I got nervous before we came on here. Can you believe that?
Well, I was nervous. I know that. Of course I was.
Oh yeah, no, I've had stage fright. I mean, it doesn't matter what I do because basically I can't stand to see any of my old videos. Like Linda Ronstadt. I don't know if you remember her, but Linda never listened to one of her records ever. She could not stand to listen to her records. She's got one of them, fabulous, fabulous voice. Well, I don't really like that. And I know a lot of people don't really like to see what they're doing and all that stuff. But I want to say that I do have a bunch of new things coming out.
I know. I'm so excited. I want to hear it. I know that you have a 210 masterclass coming out.
Yeah, we've got, let's see, three different things coming out, and they're not going to be right away. Symptom solutions and critical thinking, which is one I've been wanting to do for a long time. We're going to take a dozen or maybe more. I've got 9 now with specific conditions that are, that people deal with all the time, and take them through the whole process of the history taking, how we relate to them, how the office, film them as they're walking in my little office here, and how it's set up so that they feel comfortable, good, chatting with them about their friends, doing everything that I learned in psychology not to do. Transference, don't put your family's picture up. Don't talk about your family. That's all turned out to be a bunch of nonsense. Yeah. How's the family? I work on all the people in the family, some of them I worked on for 30 years. It's like I miss them. I go to Costa Rica for a couple of 2 or 3 months and man, I'm ready to get back to my friends, my clients, everything. So it's a bond.
And so what else do you have coming up? You have Costa
Rica. Okay, I got that. I got, so I'll take them through, do the history, do the assessments, and then show them kind of how you figure out what kind of problems they have through critical thinking. Then I've got a thing called prehab, rehab, and pathology. And so we're going to take conditions. I've already filmed a couple of things with this. My wife has had 3 hip surgeries on this one hip, ended up in a total hip replacement. I just did a video on this the other day and showing you how, first of all, if you know somebody's going in for a hip replacement, what kind of things do you do? Once they've had the hip replacement, finding out is an anterior. Do they go in anterior? Do they go in posterior? Do they have to cut the external hip rotators? You got to know all this stuff, because when they tie those external hip rotators and that gluteus maximus tendon back onto the trochanter, it's shorter. And so you see a lot of externally rotated legs, externally rotated femurs that come out of there. So, you have to know what kind of surgery. So I go through all that. I'm doing Harrington rods, cervical fusions, Harrington rods for scoliosis, and knee replacements, hip replacements, and of course low back stuff. So it's all has to do with people who have had or getting ready to have surgeries. Let's see, one more thing. Let me think, what was it? We got an anthology of a bunch of my articles and videos, and that's going to be out in just a couple of weeks. And then Erik Brown and Ann Williams have just come out with that. Did you see that disease prevention course? With
me, I'm so excited.
Man, it's fabulous. And I loved it so much that we went to NCBTMB and got HCE credit for it so people could get their CEs this year that may need them. So check that out. It's by Erik Brown and Williams. And let's see, that's about it.
That's about it?
Well, Oklahoma City Workshop, 8th Annual Oklahoma City Workshop.
Who's going to be there with you this year? Oklahoma City.
Who's going to be with me? It was supposed to be July 4th weekend. We've always had it July 4th weekend, but this year we moved it to Labor Day weekend, which is September 4th through 6th. Whitney Lowe's going to be the guest presenter on, everybody loves Whitney, on Saturday. They do an afternoon spot on Saturday, and then at 5 o'clock, when that's over, all of the guest presenters who are Wazlowski, Sue Hitzman, Drew Friedman, Art Riggs, who's one of the all-time great rolfers, Aubrey Going, Till Luca, and Rick Grabowski is all going to be there, and Drew Friedman, I think I said that too. But yeah, so we got all these guys, and they break out into this big 8,000 square foot ballroom, and people just roam around and get tips and listen, answer questions, and are working on people. So it's really a novel little thing to do. I teach Friday, all day Friday. I teach Saturday morning. Whitney teaches all day Saturday afternoon. Then I teach all day Sunday. But we have that breakout on Saturday. So that's Labor Day weekend, September 4th through 6th. And it's, of course, we're going to follow all of the guidelines and make sure everybody's safe. We've been working our butts off on that, making sure everybody feels safe, and they are safe. So, and then we got Costa Rica, of course. This is our 21st annual Costa Rica retreat. Yeah, every year just after Thanksgiving, November 28th through December 5th this year. And that's always, it fills 2 or 3 months in advance. And it's just an incredible experience, 6 days of education and seeing the country, and Costa Rica, I live there, so I love it. It's a great place to be.
So just one more little fun fact. At the first Costa Rica class, can you remember how many people were at that class?
I absolutely do.
How many?
We actually had more than I thought. We had 28 people.
And now you have
Oh, well, no, we have to cap it at 65 because that's all the bigger that room will take. So we bring 5 teaching assistants and
great.
65 people, house 65 people. It's great. It's really intimate because we go on excursions together. We'll go to the rainforest, we'll go to the beach, we'll go to the waterfalls and all that stuff. And the whole time you're doing it, people are talking shop because we're all confined on this little 10-acre mountaintop, and so people are always talking shop, and the place where I teach is always open, and so they can go in and work on each other. And sometimes I'll just go over there and watch people steal stuff and then call it mine until they're in the workshop, and then I give them credit for what I've seen them do. That's what you do in body work. Steal when you can, but don't give them credit unless you have to. Want to see my cup?
Yes, let's see.
Let's see. If I can't take my dog, I ain't going.
That's right. Well, I have to say this, Erik. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time for us and all of your many, many years of hard work. You have made it more than a class. You've made them events. You've brought so many incredible body workers together. So many people appreciate you and look up to you, and you've named a few in your workshops. Almost every class I go to, I hear your name. So I just want to say thank you. I know it wasn't always real easy and up here. You've had to go through some hard times to keep going and keep plugging along. We're so thankful for you, Erik. I just want to say that on behalf of every member on this page and everybody in our industry. You rock.
It's so sweet. Thank you so much, Diane. That's so sweet. And listen, you guys, keep the faith. Everything's great. I know it's tough. Everything's great. We're going to work through this together. Okay.
Thank you, Erik. We're signing out.
Okay.
Woo-wee. Thank you.
You're welcome.